What if the thing that defined your life, your greatest passion, was taken away from you? Imagine you're a musician, and one day you start losing your ability to hear. What would you do? Would you give up on your dreams, or would you find another way to create music? What if I told you that one of the greatest composers in history did exactly that? Today we are going to talk about Ludwig van Beethoven, one of the most famous composers in the world. He faced a challenge that few could imagine. He began to lose his hearing. But instead of letting this stop him, he continued composing and created some of the most powerful music ever written. How did he do it? What kept him going? Let's explore. Beethoven was born in 1770 in Germany into a family of musicians. His father, Johann, was a musician too, and he recognized the talent in his young son early on. From a young age, Beethoven was trained to be a musician, and his father pushed him hard. But what was different about Beethoven was his deep passion for music. He wasn't just following orders, he lived and breathed music. By the time Beethoven was in his late 20s, he began to notice something strange. His hearing wasn't as sharp as it used to be. At first it wasn't a big problem. He could still play the piano and compose music, but as time went on, the situation got worse. His hearing gradually deteriorated until he could no longer hear the music he loved. It was devastating. Imagine this for a moment. You're a composer, and your main connection to the world, your hearing, is disappearing. Beethoven was faced with this terrible reality. He went through dark times feeling isolated and hopeless. How could he continue to do what he loved? How could he continue to create music when he could no longer hear it? In fact, Beethoven even thought about ending his life, but he didn't. Why? Because music was not just sound to him, it was something deeper. One of the most important moments in Beethoven's life happened when he found a way to hear music without actually hearing it. He started to press his ear to the piano and feel the vibrations. He realized that while he couldn't hear the sounds the way he used to, he could still feel the music through the vibrations of the keys. At first this idea was strange, but as he continued to experiment, Beethoven discovered that feeling the vibrations allowed him to sense the music in a new way. His hands could follow the rhythm and his mind could imagine the melody. Even though he couldn't hear the music, he could still create it. Beethoven didn't stop there. As his hearing continued to fade, he used more than just his hands. He started using all of his senses to compose. He would carefully look at his sheet music, and with the help of his touch, he could imagine the music in his mind. Beethoven began to rely on his imagination and his inner sense of music. His mind became his instrument, and his creativity, no longer limited by sound, grew even stronger. He composed his most famous works during this time, works that would be played and loved for centuries. One of Beethoven's greatest achievements came when he composed his Ninth Symphony, which includes the famous Ode to Joy. At this point, Beethoven had lost almost all of his hearing, but he composed this symphony with incredible emotion and detail. He couldn't hear the orchestra play, but he felt the vibrations of the music. He imagined how it would sound, and that vision came to life. The Ninth Symphony is not just a piece of music, it's a symbol of human resilience. Beethoven created a work that spoke to the joy of life and the triumph of the human spirit. And despite his own struggles, it remains one of the most inspiring pieces of music ever written. Beethoven's story shows us something very important. Music is not just about hearing sounds. Music is about feeling, experiencing, and expressing emotion. Beethoven didn't just hear the music, he felt it. And in his music, we can still feel his strength, his pain, and his incredible courage. Beethoven's music is a powerful reminder that when we face challenges, it's not the obstacle itself that defines us, but how we respond to it. Beethoven lost his hearing, but he never lost his passion for music, and he never lost his ability to create beauty in the world. His story is a lesson that even when life seems impossible, we can find a way to keep going. So, the next time you feel like giving up, remember Beethoven. He faced the darkness of losing his hearing, but instead of letting it stop him, he found a new way to create music. He showed the world that no matter what we face, we can always find a way to continue pursuing what we love. So I ask you again, have you ever felt like giving up? If Beethoven could face silence and still write the most powerful symphony the world has ever heard? What could you create if you didn't give up?